Hi, everyone. Welcome to ET 520, Biblical and Practical Peacemaking. My name is Ron Sanders, and I'll be your professor for this quarter. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you over the course of the next 10 weeks. This video will be three parts. One, I'll do a quick introduction. And then second, I will try to say a little bit about the assignments of the class and the syllabus. And the third is how to have a successful week number one. So, again, my name is Ron Sanders. I prefer to be called Ron, but for those of you who have a more formal background, say you're raised in the South or something like that, please feel free. You can call me Dr. Sanders or Professor Sanders. That's okay too, although I do prefer Ron. Let's see. If I go through the introduction questions, I'm from Thompson Falls, Montana, which is a town of about 1,000 people in the northwest corner near the panhandle of Idaho. I went to Montana State University and majored in math and physics. I'm on staff with Cru, which used to be Campus Crusade for Christ, and I've been on staff with them for the past 31 years. During my staff career, I've been all in California, Humboldt State University, Fresno State University, a couple of years while I'm doing graduate school in my master's program in philosophy of religion and ethics at Talbot School of Theology, and then the last 20 years or so at Stanford University. I currently am kind of existing as a person who helps out the chapel program for the football team for Stanford. I also teach some of Cru's Christian worldview and ethics courses for their staff and their theological training. And then Cru graciously loans me to Fuller as an affiliate faculty to teach some of their ethics courses, which this is one, ET 520, Biblical and Practical Peacemaking. I received my PhD from Fuller in 2012. I started in 2006, and I commuted for 3 years while I was doing my coursework from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, where Stanford is located in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto, to Pasadena on an airplane every week to go to school. And then I'd come back and do my research at the Stanford Library or at another Catholic seminary's library here in the area. And so I really enjoy ethics. My field of research is the intersection of religion and public policy. And my advisor was Glenn Stassen. And Glenn was one of the kind of founders of the peacemaking movement. And so he asked me to begin to teach this class as he got a little bit older, in preparation for people to go to Israel and Palestine on a peacemaking mission / class. So there was a fieldwork class related to this class. That no longer exists, but this class exists for people who need it in their particular program, and it cross-lists for a number of majors. And so it's a great class. So this wasn't initially my field of research, but I've really come to enjoy this class a lot, and I see a lot of parallels both in international relations, but also in some of the domestic conflicts that we are experiencing, and some of those questions in our culture today, the American culture. I know some of you are international students, and so hopefully this class will also apply in your context. And that's one of the beautiful things about this peacemaking class, is that it brings together, especially the online version, it brings together people from radically different backgrounds. And so I really look forward to the conversations, and this has been true of the classes that I've taught in the past on this topic. The conversations are rich and meaningful because of the different backgrounds of the students involved in it. One of Glenn's, how this kind of peacemaking idea came to fruition was partly because of Glenn's research in the Sermon on the Mount, which this will be part of your reading assignment in week number one, is you're going to read Doing Not Dualism in their book, David Gushee and Glenn Stassen's book, Kingdom Ethics. And this will be their interpretation of the Sermon on the Mount. And so out of this interpretation of the Sermon on the Mount, Glenn then began to think about the blessed are the peacemakers. And what would that look like to move away from the rhetoric or the polarity of a strict pacifism on one hand, and then just war theory on the other hand, and move into a positive kind of peacemaking role for Christianity and Christians. And so it began with his idea of peacemaking, and he talks about this in Just Peacemaking. And this is his book where he writes about the theory of just peacemaking anchored in the Sermon on the Mount. And so he begins to take his triadic initiatives, which you'll read about, and begin to apply them in a way that will create a positive peacemaking theory. So that was the start, and that was anchored in, again, in the scriptures. Then he thought, well, maybe we could do an ecumenical idea about peacemaking, which he gathered some scholars together in a symposium, and then they published this book, Just Peacemaking. And this is a compilation of books, a compilation of articles about the 10 practices of peacemaking, and it's still anchored in the Christian tradition. And then both Glenn and one of the other authors in that book said, I wonder if there are these same practices or principles in the three Abrahamic religions. And so the book that you'll be reading second is called Interfaith Just Peacemaking. And this is trying to find whether the 10 practices of peacemaking are also in the Quran and in Judaism. And so that will be one of the textbooks that you'll be reading. You'll read that second. The first one that you're going to read is Lisa Cahill's book, Blessed Are the Peacemakers, Pacifism, Just War Theory, and Peace Building. So she calls it peace building. She's good friends with Glenn, or was good friends with Glenn, and what she's going to do in that book is give you kind of the framework or architecture of the conversation. So she's going to talk about just war theory and its development. She's going to talk about pacifism and how that developed, and then she's going to talk about kind of this way of peace building. And then we're going to fill in the gaps of what she calls peace building with some more of the just peacemaking paradigm. So that's kind of going to be the beginning stages of your class here. And we'll talk a lot about theory in the first half of the class, and then we'll begin to move, after the midterm essay, we'll begin to move to more practical applications of peacemaking. So I'm looking forward to that. That's always, we get in a little bit of the nitty gritty. This is an important topic, I think, because, well, one, it always corresponds and comes along with current events. And we could just take the whole class and talk about the war between Russia and the Ukraine, and whether that's just war. How do we work in peacemaking in those areas, and what can we do as Christians to be peacemakers and peace builders in times of crisis like this? And so we could do that. There's way more conflict than that, because we as human beings kind of tend towards conflict. And so there's a lot more that we can talk about. Your major assignments for this course is, one, you will have a midterm essay. I have a prompt for that essay, and it's already up and available in the Canvas shell. I think you can find it in week number 4 or week number 5. And then, so as you're reading Blessed Are the Peacemakers, you can carry that prompt with you and see what I'm looking for in the midterm essay. So that's the first thing. That'll be week number 5. Week number 8 will be a group project, a peacemaking project, where you'll try to apply the peacemaking principles. And then your final paper, where you will choose a topic, or you will choose a project to do to practice the peacemaking principles with. So you'll do a research paper, or you can choose a project. If you choose a project, you probably want to choose that early so you have time to do a little bit of work ahead of time with that. And we'll talk a little bit more as soon as the midterm essay is passed, which you should be focused on that. So those are the 3 main assignments. The other parts of your grade is participation, of course, on the online forums. And then the second part is your reading quizzes. And so I have a certain rhythm to my class. If any of you have taken my classes before, you know that I have a certain rhythm. So each week I give you some assigned readings. you begin your readings on Monday and you finish them by 5 p.m. on Friday. And then what you will do is I have a quiz for you, and the quiz is really easy. You answer a question: how much percentage of the reading did you complete on time? And you have options 0 to 100%. Hopefully everybody gets 100% on that. And then you just click 100%, and so you get 100% on that quiz. If you click 90%, you get 90% on that quiz. And then the second part is part of your participation grade. You will write a journal reflection that you're kind of interacting with the material. Please don't summarize the material. What I'm looking for there is what you would write if you're writing in a journal after reading a book. This is what inspired me. This is what I'm thinking about after this reading. These are new thoughts to me, and I want to kind of talk about this area. Those kinds of things. Here's a couple of quibbles that I have with the author and these specific ideas. Those kinds of things, rather than, I don't want you to summarize the book. I can kind of gather whether you are understanding it as a class by reading your journal reflections. So that's what I'm looking for, is doing your quiz each week and then writing a journal reflection and then reading each other's journal reflections and responding to them. So you kind of get an idea of how the other people in the class are interacting together. So that's kind of the reading rhythm. And in the first 4 weeks of the reading rhythm, there's a little bit of flexibility. In other words, we're getting it down. We're kind of trying to find our way in the class. So if you just, you got 90% on the first week, but you finish it over the weekend, I'm fine with you going back and putting 100% in, especially in the first half of the class. In the second half of class, then everybody should have it down by then, and you should be able to keep up with the reading. There is some built-in time at the end of the class, weeks 9 and 10, after your group project, to catch up if you need to catch up on some of the reading. So do your best to keep caught up, but that's going to be the rhythm of the class through the 10 weeks. There are some weeks, of course, when you have an assignment that you won't have reading. Okay, the last thing that I want to say is how to have a successful week number 1. I will try to do this on Sunday or Monday of every week, kind of give you an idea of what's expected from you for that week, and then and your assignments and those kinds of things. And so for this week, the few things to be successful. One is you begin your reading, doing not dualism, so chapter 5 of Kingdom Ethics. There are 14 pages assigned, and then there are 138 pages assigned from Blessed Are the Peacemakers. So you want to kind of get ramped up on your reading pretty quickly. The assignments, you have an introduction form, so please jump into that forum, read your classmates' introductions, give an introduction of your own so we can get to know one another. This is especially important in the topic of this class in peacemaking, is having relationships with people, knowing their story, and then entering into that story with them, with one another. And we'll talk about this when we read Miroslav Volf, the 4 stages of embrace. And so jump into the introduction forum, introduce yourself, and then at the end, you have your reading quiz and journal reflection for the first week on Friday. So that's how to have a successful week. Chapter 5 from Kingdom Ethics, the Doing Not Dualism. Reading your 138 pages, chapters 1 through 4 of Blessed Are the Peacemakers. The introduction forum, and then at the end of the week, the quiz and the journal reflection. I look forward to getting to know you all this quarter. I think we should have a great quarter. I'm going to be filming from some exotic locations because I'll be in Ghana, in France, in Wisconsin, in Jackson Hole. And so that's the beauty also of the asynchronous class, is I had a pretty intense travel schedule once COVID lifted. And so I can still continue to teach while this is happening, and we can have this class while I'm traveling. So hope you have a great quarter. If you have any questions, please feel free to text me, email me, call me. If you do call me, text me first and say, hey, I'm from this class, and I'm going to call in a moment. And then I'll give you a good time to call, and that way I'll answer, because I usually don't answer if I don't recognize numbers. Okay? Have a great week, everyone.